The Hero's Journey, a Mindful Accord podcast, with your host, Rich Decker.
Hello, and thank you for taking some of your valuable time to listen to the show. I'm excited to announce that the Hero's Journey, a Mindful Accord podcast, has begun its own Patreon page. For those who are not familiar with Patreon, it's a platform that allows artists and content creators to build relationships with their audience and provide exclusive experiences while earning enough money to keep providing the content on an ongoing basis. When you join our community, you will gain access to exclusive content as well as other benefits and goodies. There will be a link in the show notes that'll take you directly to our page. Our guest for this episode is Michael Farris, who is the District Sales Manager at Etactics Inc. Michael's a person who went through a complete transformation of his body and mind. He grew up with many poor health habits. He was an obese child and teenager continuing into his adult life. At his lowest point in the valley of his journey, Michael was in his early 30s and he weighed 280 pounds. Keep in mind, Michael is 5 foot 5 inches tall. When he came out of the abyss one fateful day, he began to take responsibility for what he had become. This episode is for those who believe that they can never make a permanent change in their life. Michael is now in the best shape of his life physically, mentally, and spiritually. In our talk, you'll find out how he went from being on the fast track to an early grave to doing yoga every morning at 5:30, 7 days a week. Michael has been a salesman since he was 15, and his great wit and charm comes through this exploration into massive change. This is the hero's journey of Michael Farris. Enjoy. Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you for joining us on the Hero's Journey, a Mindful Accord podcast. And when I met you just a short while ago, I would have never guessed that you had this incredible transformation of not only your body, but your mind. And I said, I have to get Michael on the show. I have to get him on the show. He has to tell his story so that he can inspire people. So let's go at the beginning. Let's tell us a little bit about your childhood and understand where you started in your journey. And then I ask everybody this because I'm always curious about these things. What's one thing, one principle perhaps that your parents instilled in you for better or worse that you still carry with you today?
So I grew up in a suburb in Northeast Ohio, grew up eating a lot of fast food and loved soda and loved going to the movies and eating popcorn and didn't eat at home a lot. Didn't know kind of what my limit was, moderation. I think that was the first part what you asked me, right? How did I grow up?
It's a little bit where you grew up and kind of your upbringing. It depends, where people live in the country. It's a little bit, sometimes some different culture, a little bit at least. What was it like growing up in Ohio? How would you describe Ohio?
Oh, it was, I still call it the world's best kept secret. Be out all day in the summer, the winter, be playing football in the snow. A lot of, I was very active, played soccer, played baseball, loved riding my bike around. That was back when I don't even know if they do it anymore. Where you hang around with in the neighborhoods with the kids and, you just kind of started working at a young age. I was 15 when I started working and, Midwest values, right? That, you don't get everything handed to you and you learn kind of work, go to school, work after school. The money you make, that's what you use to buy stuff. And so I got those values instilled in me. And I think Ohio was part of it growing up in Northeast Ohio.
What about your parents? What was something that they instilled in you, for better or worse?
Be kind to people. My father taught me at a young age, show respect always to people. Because if we didn't show respect, we got hammered for it pretty good. My mom taught me to be kind and, be honest with yourself. Try to, keep me like on the right path in terms of like having people around me, the right kinds of people around me. But yeah, we didn't show respect. Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. So I still to this day, I mean, I shake people's hands, say hello, ask people how they're doing, address them the way they want to be addressed by their name. And it all comes back to when I was a kid.
Well, do you feel resentment towards that, or is it, do you think it's been helpful, even though it was a hard lesson?
No resentment at all. I think some of that stuff, I think we've got away from that in today's world. So I think that's something that's a good value to learn at a young age, to show respect to people, and kids show respect to adults. When they talk to them, you listen, you put down what you're doing and focus on what they're asking you. Even though sometimes you might not want to answer 3, 4, 5 questions from an adult, but too bad. You take the time to listen to them and answer them. So yeah, I think it's a good core value that we've gotten away from.
Now, when you were growing up in Ohio as a teenager, what did you envision for yourself? I know you said you started working when you were 15. What did some of us want to be, rock stars or firemen or whatever, the typical thing? What did Michael want to be when he was 15?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be an NBA player, but then I was like 5'3" at 15, and I think I knew I only had maybe 2 more inches left, and I wasn't that fast. I was like 180 pounds, so I had to rule that out. So I always wanted to do something in sales. I was always that person that like sold candy bars door to door and tried to win those contests, and so I knew whatever I want. I thought whatever I wanted to do was some kind of sales oriented, because I was a natural salesperson.
How do you get to be a natural salesperson? What did you think? Where did you think it came from? Because for many of us, that's a hard skill.
Well, my family on my dad's side, my dad's a very extroverted, very talkative person. We used to go out, we go out to dinner as a kid. And we hated it because he'd always have people coming up to him because he knew everywhere we went, he knew people. And he liked to go places where he knew people. And I remember how annoyed I was. But as I've gotten older now, I find myself doing the same thing. Some people get annoyed with me because I go somewhere and people know me. So it's just one of those natural conversation starters. And I still think in sales, people buy from people. And when people are comfortable with people, it makes it it makes it a lot easier to do business. Somebody who's natural at that, you can't really teach that. Like, you can't go to school and learn that. I mean, to a certain degree you can, but it's one of those things, you either have it or you don't have it.
You wanted to be in sales. Let me ask you, the candy bar thing, when the kids come by selling candy bar, is that legitimate? I've never bought one, but I've always thought it was a scam. Is that legitimate, or is it a scam?
I don't know if it's legitimate now, but it was back then. Yeah, I was grinding, man. I was going door to door to door. And I remember I lost to a kid. I was in elementary school. I was so mad because his mom worked at a Ford plant or a GM plant or something. And she used to just take those candy bars to work. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm going door to door here grinding, and you're just selling all the candy bars to the kid. But yeah, no, they were legitimate.
Well, that's a good point that you made there. He kind of won the easy way, right? You did it the hard way, and you learned a good lesson.
Yeah, I got a cassette player. I won a cassette player. Yeah, well, it was a Walkman.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Many people most people wouldn't know what the hell a Walkman is now.
No. They barely know what a CD is anymore.
Right. Well, I don't have any CDs, and I don't even have a DVD player anymore.
I still have my DVD player, but my DVD collection, I don't want to throw it away because I bought them all, so my sister says she wants them. I mean, was the last time you walked into a Best Buy, really? Or
quite a while ago.
Yeah, and if you did, it was dead, I bet, right? It was probably empty.
It was. I don't know how they stay in business. They probably won't be much longer, actually. I would imagine. I don't know. But so you started working young, 15. Did you go to school, go to college?
Yeah, I went to Kent State in Northeast Ohio. So I got my major in marketing, ironically, so sales, and a minor in finance. And it was funny because I had an uncle that said to me, you should get a major in finance or accounting, and you should get a minor in marketing. And he said, because sales, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But you don't need to spend your education going through marketing, because sales is you either have it or you don't have it. And in hindsight, I wish I would have gotten that major in finance or accounting, because that's just it's another field that you could learn more in.
Let me ask you a question. Now, with the cost of school now, I mean, it was expensive when I went to school, but now it's just insane. If you were to do it all over again, would you go to school and get a degree, or would you just start working and do it yourself?
Yeah, that's a tough thing because, some companies still look at it like they want that degree. So I don't, that's hard because some of the companies that I've worked for have wanted a degree. So yeah, I still would have done it, and just the experience of like post high school. But I also think though in today's world, I don't know, I don't know how beneficial a degree is in my opinion for certain things. Because there's a lot of people, they get it right out of school, they start working, like they don't accumulate all that debt. Like they have opportunities to like save and get ahead. That's like half the battle right there.
Yeah, I just heard the school loan debt's 1.5 trillion, which is just unbelievable. It's unimaginable.
Well, and it's only going to climb. And we've, as a society, we've gotten used to that word as debt, and like that carrying debt is not a bad thing. And to a certain degree, it's not. But I don't know about you, but I've learned, we can kind of touch on this too, later. But like, I learned kind of the hard way. I'd racked up some credit cards and like I had some debt out there that I just didn't like looking at it. And the more debt you have, you're kind of at the mercy of people. And the more liquid the more liquidity that you have, and the more you have saved away, and you're not at mercy to people where you're stuck. You can make a change, or you can do like what you're doing now, or and not have like I got to work, I got to get another job, I got to get another job, I got to get another job. That you're just you're debt laden, and you're stuck, and you can't get ahead.
Well, I read Dave Ramsey's book, The Total Money Makeover. I'm sure you're familiar with Dave Ramsey.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just going to go about the debt snowball because I use that.
Yeah, I read his book, and I will tell you that my goal is to be debt-free within 2 years after reading that book. When you were growing up, just briefly, so I know you touched on this, that you had some bad habits that developed as far as eating goes. What were the mental habits that you developed that contributed to your challenges later?
Well, not learning how to say no, not learning how to, moderate food. Because that's all mental, right? You go for that second serving, that third serving. You talk about in relation to eating?
Well, just in general, just our mental habits, before we do something, it's a habit. It's a thought. And, 90% of our lives are habit. So I'm just wondering, looking back now, what do you think were some of the mental habits and physical habits that led to your challenges later?
Well, I think everything was centered around eating. And I think that, when your whole foundation is for what is my next meal, eating for the taste, not the survival aspect in a way, and eating for the taste and enjoyment. When everything centers around that, and that's what as a young age, that's kind of where things start to spiral, or not spiral, because they don't really spiral when you're a kid like that, but like you pick up those bad habits, and then those habits just become a way of life, right? And that's just the norm. And go to lunch at the schools, and you'd eat the hamburger and the fries, or pizza on Fridays, and we had Pizza Hut on Wednesdays. It was the best. It's so funny because I'd come home and I'd order Pizza Hut, and it never tasted as good as it did on Wednesdays at the school. I have no idea what they did to it. I don't know what they did to it. Like I called them. I'm like, what are you guys doing differently? Because I order it. It's not nearly as good as it tastes at the school. But the schools don't promote. They don't promote a lot of that stuff either. Ultimately, it's your job to learn that at the home. To learn that like while you're at home, like in the value in your house, rather than it's not the school's job to teach that, but they don't help it either. Cookies and peanut butter squares and.
Well, from what I understand, a lot of the lunch programs at school now, it's basically junk food, like fast food.
I don't think it's changed at all since I was growing up. From my understanding, it doesn't sound like it's any different. But again, it kind of falls on the house. It falls on the parents too, more so the parents than it does in the school.
Oh, sure. You're at home more than you are at school. Oh, you'd hope at least.
Well, they should teach you, right, to stay away from certain things.
Right. I my degree was in psychology, and I always think about this. They taught us. I don't know if this thinking has changed, but those first 6 years of our life, those implants that are put in our mental bank, we live those for the rest of our lives, many of us. So, if you don't get those habits, those right eating habits and the right health habits when you're very young, you may have challenges later.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I never heard that before, but I would agree with that. But and I'm sure we're going to go here later, but people can change. They can change their process, their habits, and their way of thinking. But yeah, it's something, those first 6 years, I can see how it's instilled in you and it carries with you for a long time.
So you were active when you were young. When did you become less active, and when did your habits catch up with you and you started putting on weight?
Yeah, I was always, I don't remember exactly, but I was always one of those kids that could put on weight pretty easily. Like I was always I was a thin kid, like in kindergarten and first grade, but then like third grade, and I don't know exactly, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, like those years I just would gradually put on. And I remember in eighth grade I wrestled, or ninth grade. Yeah, ninth grade I weighed 155 pounds. My 10th grade year, because I know just by wrestling, I wrestled at 189 pounds. And I couldn't have been taller than 5'3", 5'2", maybe 5'4", because I'm only 5'5" now. Give you an idea, I jumped 35 pounds in a year.
Was that muscle or was it?
No.
Unfortunately, no.
No, because I didn't lift weights or anything back then. In fact, I think after wrestling season, I don't think I did anything really that summer.
Were you good at wrestling?
No, I was horrible. I started wrestling my 8th grade year, which is too late, especially in Ohio, because wrestling's so big in Ohio. I mean, you really have to start when you're like 5 years old. So I started 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, and I was 0-6. That was my lifetime record. I was not only 0-6, it's funny. I was 0-6, and I was in a tournament my sophomore year. It was a JV junior varsity tournament. And the top 6th place, well, there was only 6 of us in my weight class, so I got a medal. I took 6. Swear to God. I was on the podium. It was awesome.
Do you still have the medal?
No. I sold it on eBay. To another kid that took 6th place that didn't get a medal.
I know. The thing is now with kids is, everyone gets a reward or a medal. Well, life doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, but life doesn't work that way.
No, and I ran cross country my sophomore year too, because I was like, you remember the movie Vision Quest?
Yes.
It's like one of my favorite movies. And, he ran a lot with the plastic on and stuff, if you remember the movie at all. But so I ran cross country the one year because I had the whole Vision Quest thing going on in my head. And I finished last in every race. It was a 5K.
Was it because you were heavy? Or?
Yeah. I was like 180 some pounds trying to run a 5K, being 5'3", and they had to have the coach go with me to help me keep my time under 30 minutes. So average under 10 minutes a mile.
That's slow.
That's real slow. I mean, it's funny now because, 25 years later, and I could, easily outrun that. So it's just kind of funny when I was 15, how slow I was and how heavy I was. Yeah, they took the finish line down before I crossed it in one race.
I'm sorry, but it's funny.
It's funny. It's funny. I was like, God, this should go in the records at my school. The only guy to ever had the finish line come down before they crossed it. Swear to God.
Was it hard for you growing up being like that? I would imagine with the weight, and you said you're slow and you were 5'3", that you probably didn't get picked first in gym class. Was that difficult for you?
Yeah, I was always the fun guy that people wanted around though. Like I was the clown. So like I was, people wanted me around. So I get picked, but yeah, I just wouldn't get picked first.
Being the fun guy, was that your mechanism to handle what was going on, or where did you develop that from?
My dad, my whole dad side of the family is like that, got that quick wit and funny and sense of humor. And I always kind of related to like those characters, like from movies and stuff, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And people call me by my last name because of that movie. So I always thought it was cool to like get in trouble and for humor. And I mean, I didn't get in fights or anything, but like I thought it was cool to get in trouble for humor, trying to attempt to be sarcastic with teachers.
You got a business degree at Kent State and you started your working life doing sales. What were your habits then?
Are you talking post college or?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I picked up a lot of bad habits when during college and after college, because then I was smoking. I'd start smoking, and I was drinking a lot. I love to be out and about. I love to be at bars, like bar hopping and wings, and drink all weekend, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday all day with football, or just drink all day anyway with my buddies. And so I actually graduated and moved to another college town. I moved to Penn State for a job. So it was like a continuation of college for me, but yet I lived in a house with 3 other people, and we were all working for this company, making good money for our age. So we were just out and about even more, because we're 23, 25, just partying, and we lived in Penn State, so it was a real college town where we could be out all day. And so yeah, I'd smoke a lot, drank, worked a lot. Stop at like I stopped at a little dairy place and get hot dogs every day. It was like the best hot dogs right outside of State College. But so yeah, and you had roommates. None of us were health conscious. I mean, I would try a little bit, I'd go through these little Windows phases where I would try to turn things around. But, it's hard if you're not in an environment where you've got people around you that smoke and drink and eat. And not that you blame them, but it just makes it challenging, because, you're trying to clear your mind, and yet you got these kind of distractions around you. So it just makes you got to be that much more disciplined to make that change.
That's a good point you brought up too. And no matter how strong you are mentally, your environment is stronger than you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have these things in our brain called mirror neurons that we developed through evolution, that we imitate the things and the people and the environment that are around us, and we do it unconsciously. So you hear this statement, you are the 5 people you hang around with the most. That's why. So environment is terribly important to your, not only your health, but just your overall well-being.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure if your environment's not set up for you to whatever direction you want to go in.
I don't recall being taught that when I was young.
Yeah, but the kids don't want to listen in that regard either. They have to learn through failure in the hard way. And maybe somebody told me that. I'm sure it was brought up in school somewhere along the way. But you're young and you're stubborn, and you don't want to listen to anybody either. So
right, you could be given all the wisdom in the world, and you'll dismiss most of it, most likely.
Wisdom comes with age, right? Isn't that what they say?
Yes, through the heartbreaks and failures. Yeah.
For some people never get wisdom and never get. I've learned that too as I've gotten older, that maturity is something that doesn't apply to everybody, because some people their whole life they never get mature and they never get wise, and they stay the same place that they're at.
That's one of the reasons why I started doing this podcast, because we can live the hero's journey. I think we should live the hero's journey, but some do not. Not only was it to be inspired by your story like yourself, but to help people realize that. So, this is how your life is going, but this is just part of the journey. You just have to stick with it. So you had some pretty bad habits, smoking. Were you trying to have a heart attack before you were 30, or it was just unconscious?
Well, I applied the Frank Sinatra principles when I was in college, and Frank Sinatra smoked and he drank. I just couldn't sing, but I always loved Frank Sinatra. I thought if I could be a celebrity, I'd want to be Frank Sinatra.
He lived quite a while with those habits.
Yeah, and he was cool.
Yeah,
I wasn't cool, but he was cool.
Did you have a hard time with dating?
Oh yeah, yeah, because I didn't have the confidence. And I was heavy. I mean, I smoked, I drank. I was the fun guy to go out with. So yeah, it was tough. My cop. I was, yeah. It's
you were always the friend.
I was the friend. I was
the fun friend.
I was the fun friend, man. I always got friend zoned. But for me, it was confidence thing. And even still to this day, I've gotten rejected so much work related for sales. I started telemarketing when I was 15 and got hung up on, sworn at, life threatened, all kinds of stuff. But I'll tell you, getting rejected by a woman is tough. It's hard. I don't know. Don't you struggle with it? I still struggle with it.
I have. I'm a human being. We all have our insecurities, even though We try to cover it up with certain things, but everybody has their insecurities. But I think, again, with age, that kind of dissipates a little bit. You just gain some wisdom and you just realize that, life is short, man, and it goes by quick. I mean, quick. You got to enjoy the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I turned 40 a few months ago, and you and I were talking about that prior, and it flies. So I've gotten better about it, but I still think it sucks, like, to get rejected by a woman. I mean, you got to move on, and I do, but like I said, I could get rejected all day long on the phone, at work related, and I brush it off, get back on the phone or whatever, but man, like, you find a woman that you're interested in and you get rejected, like, it's an ego bruise.
It might be part of that primate part of our, we have to remember that we're primates, right? And there's hierarchies in gorilla groups, and there's hierarchies in human groups, and that's getting rejected like that. It could be. I don't know. It's just speculation on my part. So when you were going through your working life, and I'm assuming you were doing pretty well. I mean, you must be a phenomenal salesman. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, I don't know about phenomenal. I mean, I'm okay. I'm good at what I do. People still do buy from people. I've been in my current job now for about 5 years, so I'm kind of known for what I do, like, for the area that I cover. So it makes it a little bit easier. The longer you're in a position, in a certain industry, people get to know you, and it makes it easier. So yeah, I would say I'm good at what I do. I could never say I'm phenomenal at what I do, because that would mean that, we can't improve, and we can always improve at whatever it is that we're doing.
That's very good. When did you?
That was deep, right? Was that deep? That was good.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
it's true,
man.
Right? You always want to be improving. I think
touching the heart chakra on that one, Rich.
I try to live by the 1%. If I just improve myself 1% every day, that's all I have to do. Otherwise, I feel like I'm wasting this short amount of time that I have. In fact, I have there's a great Chrome extension. It's called Def Clock. It's for the Chrome browser. And it tells you put in your birth date, and it gives you average how many days you have left and how many minutes and seconds. So I have that, and I get them on my computer every day doing something, and I see that, and it's a good reminder, to not waste time and to make the most of what I have left, whether it's 1 minute or 100 years. I don't know.
Well, you realize that as you get older, I think too, right? Like, I have a friend of mine who's she's in her upper 20s, and I'm 40, and I talked to her a little bit about it. I go, it's weird. I go, because physically and mentally, I feel the best I've ever felt right now. I go, but you realize as you get older, and you might agree with me, but as you get older, you just start to realize your mortality, right? Because you start, between 30 to 40, I lost people that weren't 80. They were my age, or some were even a little bit younger, and you hear about people that I went to high school with that passed away, or, and every decade that goes by, that's going to be more of a reality. And, my family, my uncles that I've, or relatives that I talk to all the time, they're not in their 40s anymore. They're in their 60s now. So you just start to realize, like, your mortality, and, ultimately, life is short, and, you're moving closer to that period.
Well, we're living longer than ever, but at least for me, I am closer to the end than the beginning. That's for sure.
I probably am too, though. My grandma's going to be 101 on Wednesday.
Wow, 101.
Yeah.
What's it? What's her quality of life at 101? How would you describe it?
I think all things considering, I think she's pretty good. I mean, she's in a wheelchair. It takes her a while. She can use a walker, and it takes her a while to get from, like, she lives in a little bungalow in Ohio. She blends all her food. She can't really hear that well. But if you sat down and talked to her, it might take her a minute or two to, like, formulate a response and get it out to you. But she could still formulate a response and get it out to you. And the next day, if you saw her again, she would remember you. She might not remember all the aspects of the conversation, but she would remember, but I mean, she'd be 101. Like, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, it sure is. Imagine what she's seen in those 101 years. Changes.
Wait, I saw her. We talked about that like a month ago. and I mean, God bless her, but coming back to what I said about being close to the end in the beginning, I mean, I don't want to live to be 100. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I guess if I get close to it, you could ask me, but I don't want to live to be 100.
So when you were continuing your habit, you're living your life. How much did you weigh? What was the height of the top weight that you
ever?
So
I moved out to Arizona, and I was I maybe a year or two living here. I lived with roommates again, and we ate out a ton. I mean, I was working at a bank, going to Starbucks every day, getting these salted caramel hot chocolates, and so I was almost 280 pounds, 277.
How tall were you?
5'5".
5'5". So you were big. Is that
huge?
Safe to say?
Huge.
You were huge. Oh wow.
Huge.
How did you feel? I mean, obviously not good, but did you stop for a moment and say, what am I doing to myself?
No, it's funny. I thought in my mind, I remember this. I thought in my mind that maybe my body, I would like hit a point where I couldn't put any more weight on anymore. I maxed out. That's what I thought.
Wow.
I was like, well, I'm only so tall and I can only go out so far. Like I can't put on any more weight. So I'll hit this max out, top out button.
Wow. That's interesting. So do you look back on that thinking and go, that's kind of like a crazy person thinks that.
Oh, it's dumb. It's just stupid.
Yeah, we rationalize everything.
Well, we justify. We justify.
Yeah,
and we don't take ownership of anything. I mean, we don't take. We justify. We buy or we eat on emotion, right? And then we try to justify logically. It's the same principle. Like when you go out and buy something or finance something, you justify in your mind or to somebody else why you bought it, and then you bought it on emotion. And then you justified either yourself or to other people why you needed it.
That's so true. And I'm guilty.
I am too.
Guilty. Right.
I am too. I mean, we all are. Like we get emotional. That's what sale, like, I mean, I'm not in that kind of sale. You go to somewhere like, I don't know as much anymore with Amazon and all that, but like you go somewhere and like, they get you all fired up and they can kind of read what you want, what you like. And get your emotions high, right? And then you justify why you made that purchase or why that food.
You get the dopamine flowing through your brain, right? Or the serotonin or whatever hormones are going, and it changes you. So you were at 280, 277, 5'5". I know you shared a story with me about when you hit that bottom and then you started to change. Could you share that story with us? It's a great story.
Yeah, I was coming into work. It was a Monday morning and I was working up in Anthem, which is north of Phoenix, 15 miles north of Phoenix. Our main office was down in central Phoenix, which is, was 35 miles away or something. And no executives would ever come up there. Like they didn't want to drive up there, but for whatever reason that morning they were there. And I walked in the front area, saw that they were there. I walked right in the back. I'm like, all right, because we were supposed to wear ties, but we never did. So I'm like trying to get this tie on, like trying, cramming it in there. Like I could not button the top button of my shirt. I couldn't do it. A woman was trying to help me button it, and I could not get that button together. So I like walked across the Safeway, walked across the parking lot because there was a grocery store and Starbucks in there. And I walked across and I was so defeated, like felt so down. I was so defeated because I literally said to myself, I was like, how did you let yourself get to this point? Like you did this. How did you do this? Cause I had lost weight before, and like always kind of gone up and down. And so I just felt so depressed and so discouraged that I allowed myself to get to this point. That I didn't have enough self-control to like put the brakes on things. And that's what started it. That's what kind of started the, all right, I'm going to turn this around.
And then you sustained an injury, correct?
Kind of fast forwarding, they had a 90-day challenge at my work at that same job at the time. So I jumped into that 90-day challenge and I was like, oh, I'm going to really focus in. And I got from 277 I'd switched jobs after that. And at one point I was down to like 205-ish, 210. And then I slipped and tore my quad, like a freak accident in my kitchen. And the day of my surgery, they had to reattach it. The day of my surgery, I weighed 220. And then I was laying around for about 2 months. So I had to really take it easy with the leg. And I'd gotten to about 240. I ballooned back up to about 240. When I went back to Ohio, I'd taken another job that was based in Ohio. So I was back there. It was 5 months after my surgery. My mom and I went for a walk in this park. I was just starting to walk again because I had to learn how to walk again. I went from 2 crutches to 1 crutch to a cane. And I got rid of all that, but I was limping around a lot. And my mom and I went for a walk, and 3-mile walk. And it's this 3-mile path that I've run 100 times. It's my favorite 3-mile path, when I'm home. And so we got done walking, and I was limping really, really bad. And I told my mom, I said, when I come back in December, because I knew I was coming back in December. This was July. I go, I'll be a different person when you see me. I'm like, you will see a different person when I come back. So I went back, came back to Arizona. I worked from home, which was good. And I just started just slowly chipping away at things. And that's what led me to start going to yoga. I started practicing yoga at that time because I was told that would help the flexibility a lot. Just hamstring, and especially for my right leg, like the physical therapy was pretty much done. So everyone was like, go to yoga, try to get open, try to get flexible, try to increase the flexibility. And so that's what caused me to start doing yoga. So that I was working yoga, cutting down my eating little by little by little, because you can't do it all at once. Like people think, I'll just wake up today and just all my bad habits, I'll just stop them. That doesn't work. I don't think. So I would just cut things out little by little by little. What was the first thing I could cut out that it wouldn't impact me one way or the other if I didn't have it? That was my mindset. So soda was like an easy cutout.
And you stopped eating fast food and you stopped eating out as much?
Yeah. Well, but all slow transformation. So like I worked out at a gym and I would get on the scale every night. I was real OCD about getting on the scale. They say you're not supposed to, but I would. Because I didn't really have an eating plan, but everything to me was by the scale, because the scale doesn't lie. The number doesn't lie. So I remember getting on the scale and like the number was not moving, and I was like so discouraged by that. I was like, oh man, I was 35. My metabolism just stopped. I'm so down. Like it's just, I don't have it anymore. And I would go home like really upset and like just down. And but then it was weird. I wake up the next day and I'm like, all right, new day. It's a new day. We're going to grind away. Because I really wanted to run again. I just wanted to go take a jog in the desert. It's like one of my favorite things to do is to go run in the desert. I told myself if I get a second chance, at this, that I would do things differently. And I hope that I get a second chance. And some people don't, but I was going to work as hard as I could to try to get that second chance.
How did you develop discipline at a later age? What did you do to make yourself disciplined?
Well, you have to. I really think you have to kind of retrain your mind. And it's funny. And I think I was telling you this. Like, I'm a big boxing guy. Did I tell you that? I think
yes, Manny Pacquiao. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I met him. I've met him a couple times, and I have gloves signed by him. And his trainer is a friend of my uncle's for a long, long time. It's Freddie Roach, and I've known him. I've known Freddie since I was a kid, and so they had all those videos, and it was funny because I've told a few people this now, and you were one of them, but I listened to that David Goggins podcast on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he had David Goggins. Do you ever listen to Joe Rogan?
Occasionally, yes.
Yeah. Well, if you've never, the David Goggins one is really good. And he was a long story short, he was a heavy guy, and he eventually became a Navy SEAL, and he had this pull-up record that he broke, world record in pull-ups. But he referenced Rocky, sees round 14 of the original Rocky movie. And he said that song is like 2 minutes and 40 seconds long. I have that song on my iPod. I run to that song. It's called Going the Distance. And if you remember the original Rocky, remember,
when he's running through the city.
No. When he's in the fight.
Oh, okay.
And Stallone gets knocked down, right? And Apollo's got his hands up, and he thinks the fight is over, and Mickey's yelling to Stallone, stay down, stay down. And Stallone gets up, Rocky gets up, and, shakes off the referee, and then he calls Apollo to come on. And Apollo just looks at him like, man, stay down. And so David Goggins was referencing that. So I was like, in my own mind, I used to, all these HBO 24/7, they do these documentary videos leading up to these pay-per-view fights to try to entice you to buy the fights. Well, I watched all of them. Like I watched all of them. I still watch them. And they play this great music while they're training. And so like I would literally put myself like I was training in those fights. Like when the songs would come on, because I would download all the songs. I'd Shazam them all. Like any song I heard from those shows, I would make sure I had those on my playlist, because when I heard those songs, it just took me to that moment. Like I literally put myself in that ring. It's weird, but it worked, So I would like, anytime I'd be running or anytime I'd be driving somewhere, like to go to yoga or go, whatever it is I was going to do to go hike, I would have that music on, because it would just put me in that mentality of like, all right, you're going to grind, you're going to do this. I'm not a professional boxer or professional basketball player, but I'm a human being that has a drive and a mental spirit that can push, that can grind. And that was what helped me start changing habits, and even to this day, I mean, I'm not a saint. I mean, there's times where, I eat more bad stuff than I should. I still do like an occasional, I like a cocktail, a beer or wine or whatever. But, I also know how to dial it back in and cut stuff out and, focus on, rechannel myself and recenter myself and focus.
So who was your mentor through this transformation, or mentors?
No one really. I mean, my uncle in Las Vegas was really, really, I mean, my mom was always supportive, and, my sister, my uncle I talked to every single day, and he would see pictures of me and stuff. So he would like notice a change, but it really was, once I started kind of getting the ball rolling, it was people, because a lot of people knew me and they would see the transformation that I was going through, that people were like looking at me like, wow, like every time I see you, you're getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And like certain people like saw me, they knew me before the surgery. They saw me laid up during surgery, and then they saw me, coming back from the surgery. That was huge. I mean, people that say that, they would go out of their way. I mean, I had strangers come up to me that knew me from the gym, because I was still lifting weights back then. They would literally come up to me and be like, man, I don't know you, but what you've done over the last few months has been unbelievable. Like I had a guy cry to me, which was a little weird. I mean, it was nice, but it was strange. I just never had anybody do that before. So, but yeah, that when you hear stuff like that, I mean, it felt good, and it felt you to just keep grinding away, just keep going and going and going. And I think I learned too, I mean, somebody had said to me, I thought like when I hit a certain weight, like I was done. But somebody had said to me, don't put a cap on where you can go with this. Like, don't limit yourself. Like, don't put a cap. Just keep going. Keep going. Like, don't think when you hit a certain weight you can just taper off. Pass that. Surpass it. And I did. I mean, I dropped another like 30 pounds beyond what I thought I could do. And, and I start, you start doing that. It's a domino effect, right? The lighter you feel, I felt, I could run a little bit more. I can do a little more yoga, because now I just do running and yoga and hiking. But I'm like, I could stay out another mile or two. And I was slowly starting to cut my food down too, because I realized like, we eat for enjoyment, and it's okay to do that. But you also need to have that idea. Eating is to live, to survive, not to just eat. You can't eat whatever you want all day long. It's just not reality. Like you just can't do it. I wish I could, but can't.
Now, could you describe your daily routines, or do you have a morning routine you go through?
Yeah. So I'm such a creature of habit now. I actually I've kind of drifted. This is what happens is I get really, really focused, and I kind of drift, and then I rechannel my efforts. So I don't know about you, but I have a friend who's, I know from yoga, that's big into intermittent fasting. So I've been reading about that a little bit. I've actually got a book I've just started called The Obesity Code, Unlocking the Secrets of Weight Loss. I'm not far enough into it really to talk about it though. But I go to yoga at 5:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. And I usually practice from anywhere from 90 to 2 hours, depending on the day. So I have just coffee in the morning. Like I get up about 4 a.m. So I can't just get out of bed and go. I need like coffee. I need to like wake up. So I have coffee in the morning, and then I get home. I usually will wait. I try to wait a little bit before I eat because I'm not really that hungry when I'm done. So then I'll make a bowl of steel cut oatmeal. And I was just doing blueberries. This is one of those things where I've drifted a little bit, and I need to. In fact, I told myself as soon as I get rid of, I'm putting granola in my oatmeal too, which is okay. But I've been snacking on it during the day, and that's just too much sugar to have. So I have that in the morning, and then in the afternoons right now, like noonish, I've been having a shake, like a smoothie. It's got coconut milk, turmeric, a little bit of peanut butter. A little bit of banana, and a little bit of dark cocoa powder. So I have that. I have a 24 ounce of that. Sometimes I go to the grocery store. They have this like smoked salmon jerky that I'll eat. So that's my lunch. And then for dinner, I've been making cut up a green pepper, onion, mushrooms, steam some cauliflower, and I have some white beans. And I mix it all in, and I put a little avocado oil, cayenne pepper, and garlic granules. That's what I have for dinner every night.
So you eat the same thing every day?
Yeah. Friday nights I don't. I'd get like I love cheese, so I'll get a little bit of cheese, and I'll have like
your reward, right?
Yeah, I get like that. I get some fudge, like a quarter pound of fudge, and I eat it. I do like some cheese, green pepper I'll cut up with some hummus. So that's usually like my Friday. Usually I do that Friday and Saturday. But I have those shakes 7 days a week. I read that turmeric is a really good anti-inflammatory, and a guy can come up to me, saw me grabbing it, and he's like, "What does that do for you?" I'm like, "Honestly, I have no idea, but I read that it's good for you, so I take it." And I don't know. I it's kind of like the story you were telling me before, when we first start talking today. If you mentally believe it, that's what's most important, and I feel like it makes a difference. But who knows? In 10 years, they might say something completely different.
Well, it's an old remedy for, hundreds of years and from India. And I did an experiment on myself. I do turmeric every day, mix it with coconut oil and pepper because your body doesn't absorb it very well on its own. And I've done experiments where I stopped for a while, and I did notice a difference in my joints. So it clearly does something.
Yeah. See, do you take glucosamine too?
I do not. I just do turmeric, the coconut oil, pepper. I do a protein drink in the morning, and I just started taking ashwagandha. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I don't know what that is.
Sure. Well, it's an old remedy too. It's a root, and it's supposed to help with your nervous system. And also, they say, I'll be honest, part of it, as I've just turned 50, is testosterone. So I've noticed some changes over the last couple of years as my hormone levels have changed that, especially with working out, man, the recovery is very challenging now, as I've gotten older. It's not the workout, it's the recovery. So I've started taking that. I can't really say for sure if there's a difference, but I will do an experiment on myself where I'll stop it for a while and I'll see if I notice a difference. But I just take the desiccated liver tablets. I got that from Tim Farris. And what I've noticed with that, I do 2 in the morning and then 2 in the afternoon. Since I started taking those, and obviously if you're a vegetarian or especially vegan, that's out. But I forego that. I've noticed I don't get those afternoon lulls as much. So that's been a big help. And then, I just drink a lot of water. But, like you said, it's the things you do every day. That's what makes the difference. That's what makes a difference in our lives. It's not this big dream or, or wishing. Wishing is pointless. I mean, it's good, but it's what you do every day, right? So it's habits. Have you ever read the book, The Power of Habit?
I haven't.
Oh, you do? Yeah. I think that should be required reading for every person that's living currently. Because if you want to know who and what and where or why you are where you are or whatever, habits. It's all habits.
Well, and I think like touching on that kind of, it's accountability too, right? Like us as a society today, like nobody wants to take accountability for anything, whether it's at your work or whether it's relationships you have and you get in an argument with somebody or family members, or nobody can be like, all right, look, here's where we're at. I said some things, you said some things. I recognize from an eating standpoint that I need to hold myself accountable more to my eating. People don't do that. Like, they just justify why it is where they're at. And for me, at least, like, I started holding myself accountable because, I'm the one that did this. Like, and it's nice that people say, oh, your story's great and this and that. And I guess it is. But I also I'm like, I'm the one that put myself in this position. Like, nobody put a gun to my head, made me do it. I just realized, like, especially after my knee, if I want to live like a productive life and not be hurting, like, I need to take some weight off this knee, like this, as much pressure as I can off this leg, so that was really caused me to change, because what's the old saying, like, people change when it becomes more painful to stay the way they are versus making the change.
Right. You hit that abyss part in the journey where, what you were doing it's not working anymore.
Well, and people don't change because they feel like it's so painful to change, right? Like that, they don't want to do it because it's too painful.
Let's go back to yoga. So you do yoga 5 days a week, 7 days a week?
7 days a week.
Beyond being flexible, what do you get from yoga?
So I do yoga. Now, I do 7 days a week, but there are times where I'll practice a couple times a day. So I do anywhere from, I've cut it back a little bit because I started running and hiking again, because I wanted to work that back in. So I probably practice now anywhere from 9 to 10 times a week. So 7 days a week, and then there's a couple of times where I come back and do classes. I think yoga for me, I think it instills confidence. I think there's been a lot of life lessons that I've learned, even though they're not related just to yoga, but I've learned a lot of things that were in yoga that have carried through my life. And again, there's stuff that I've heard before, but they just never resonated with me like they did when I heard in yoga. So, the idea of non-attachment, I mean, you do yoga, some of this, like non-attachment, not being so attached to things, nothing lasts forever. Enjoy it while it's here. Don't look too far down the road because it might be gone down the road. So live in the moment. Don't be so attached to one thing, because if that goes away, you need to have something else to do. You want to have balance in your life. Taught me to be a better person, be a better man. Have compassion for people, have empathy for people. I'm not the most sympathetic for people sometimes because I don't think life is fair, and we all try to deal with things the best way we can. But at least have empathy for people. Don't let things bother you. Like, don't let things bother you that are so stupid and so meaningless in the grand scale of things. It's not that big of a deal. I think yoga's taught me that. But I think most of it is just to just be a good person. Treat people with respect, treat people with kindness, treat people with compassion.
Now, I wanted to ask you: did your parents ever change their eating habits or their health habits?
My mom goes back and forth. She actually told me, that she needs to. My mom's really supportive of me. It's funny, but she told me that she's felt like she's put on weight and she needs to get out. She takes care of my grandma, and it's hard for her sometimes. And I tell her, I said, everybody's got a half an hour they can carve out of their day to go outside and just get a walk in. You don't have to run, just get out and get a walk in. It's therapeutic anyway. So she's telling me that she wants to start getting back to that. Yeah, I mean, her eating is. I don't think it's not. I mean, I used to be a lot more neurotic than I am now. I've kind of loosened up the parameters a little bit. Because I do like to enjoy myself and go out. And I'm also, I've been doing this for so long now. I know when I need to kind of, be a little more disciplined and say no to things versus other times too. And like you said, it's the day to day of how you live your life. So one night a week, or not, it's not even one night a week right now, but like one night a month to go out and have a couple glasses of wine or a couple of beers or whatever. I mean, it's in the grand scale of things. That's not going to make or break me. Now, if I was doing it every night, that'd be a little bit different.
Sure. Now, what about your dad?
So, as you know, I mean, I haven't seen my father. I haven't seen him in 12 years. I've seen pictures of him. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know. I'm guessing he was always the kind of guy that was out and about a lot. Loved to be out, loved to eat out. So where I spent a lot of time with him as a kid, so we ate out a lot. So I'm sure he's out and about a lot. I'm sure he's not healthy. My standard of healthy, I'm sure he's not living that life. But I'm such a creature of habit. Like I hate to travel. Like even though I go back to my family, like I enjoy my time back there, but I'm such a creature of habit. Like I go to Whole Foods every day, like sometimes twice a day. It's right next door to where I live. Like that store, they know me in there. Like they make the shakes the way I want them made. Like I don't even have to ask. And I go to other stores, like they don't know me, and it's frustrating. They don't have what I can get right here. So I'm such a creature of habit.
What happened between you and your dad?
Growing up, my dad, our personalities are very similar. But my dad got into some legal challenges, we eventually, I mean, I always kind of knew that our roads were going to kind of separate because we're just two different people. I don't know. I always felt like he didn't put my best interests at heart or kept my best interests, from a father to a son. So yeah, I haven't spoken to him. I mean, I've maybe been 8 or 9 years since I've talked to him, but I haven't seen him in 12 years. So, character is a big thing for me, and respect is, I'll give respect to somebody all day long, but I don't care if you're a relative or not. Respect is earned, it's not given. So it's unfortunate. Nobody wants to not talk to their parents, but it's just the way it is, right?
Well, if by some chance your dad were to hear this someday, what would you say to him?
Nothing. I wouldn't say anything. There's nothing really to say at this point. Kind of a cold answer, but sometimes the truth hurts, right? I haven't seen him in 12 years, and, he's not going to change. Some people change, some people don't change. I don't feel I would be able to tell if he changed. And, I don't wish any harm or I don't wish anything bad, but there's no point in trying to have a relationship. I'm not interested in it.
Well, time will tell, yes.
I guess, yeah.
I want to thank you, Michael, for joining us. It's a great story. I'm sitting here listening to you. I'm inspired. I want to go out and run right now, but it's 105 degrees out in Phoenix, so that's not going to happen. What's some parting words you would have? Say there's someone that listens to this and in your situation that is really headed for a path of a lot of pain and an early death. What would you say to them?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to realize if you don't realize that you need to make a change. I mean, it's like anything, right? Like a smoker. If you try to tell them you should stop smoking, like if they're not acknowledging it and they don't even want to make the effort, like what else can you do? So you have to realize from within that I need to make the change. Like that's the first thing. And second thing is, and I read this in a book, so it's not mine, but you have to be persistent and you have to be patient. Right? You have to understand it didn't take you overnight to get to where you're at today, and it's not going to be overnight to get you out of where you're at. So you have to be patient, be persistent, and remember it's a process, right? So you cannot just wake up and just, it's like turning a big cruise liner around. You can't just turn this ship around in a day. So it takes a long time for a big boat liner. I don't know how long, but in my eyes, it takes forever for a boat line big cruise ship to turn around. So you have to understand, like there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days, but over the course of 30 days, day 1 to day 30, you'll be better mentally, you'll be better physically. 60 days, same thing. 90 days, 120, 150, 180, like it will change. You will change. But you'll have bad days. You'll have setbacks. You'll be down. You'll be discouraged. But you wake up the next day and, that's where that inner competitive spirit of yours comes into play and say, all right, it's a new day. I'm going to grind again. Like I'm going to work. But, you want to be patient. You don't want to hurt yourself either. Walk. What's wrong with walking? And the most important thing, I think, find something, whatever physical activity you want that you do, find something that you enjoy doing. I hate weightlifting. I hate it. If I never go to a weight room again, I'll be fine with it. And, hey, people love it. That's great. I hated it. Like some people hate running. then don't run. If you hate it, you're not going to do it very long. Try different things and find something that you enjoy doing. Try to, and if you enjoy doing it, then stick with it. You might become passionate about it.
Thank you again for listening. And please leave any comments or suggestions. We're always looking for ways to improve our show and make it the best show it can possibly be. Visit mindfulaccord.com, where you can find additional episodes and you can follow our blog. We give some helpful information on mindfulness, meditation, and just ways to manage our everyday stressful lives. And most importantly, if you know of a friend or a family member that would benefit from this story, please share it with them. Until next time, I'm Rich Decker.